Dear student, our lesson today is talking about inverse matrix. The inverse of matrices, if we have matrix like that, we get the determinant by many ways. We studied before to get the determinant of matrix, and now we will get the solution of matrices or determinant by easy way. This determinant, from the beginning, repeat the first column, repeat the first column, and repeat the second column. That's the main diagonal, multiply 2 by negative 2 by 2. The second step, plus multiply 0 by 5 by negative 1. That's the second step. The third step, multiply 3 by 1 by 4. Minus multiply 3 by negative 2 by negative 1. Plus multiply 2 by 5 by 4. Plus multiply 0 by 1 by 2. It's easy way to get the determinant. By subtracting the first result minus the second result, we get the result equal negative 42. Inverse of matrix by matrix 2 by 2. The inverse of matrix 2 by 2, multiply A, main diagonal A by D minus B by C. 1 over determinant. 1 over determinant. But if the determinant equals 0, it's in this case doesn't exist. But from the beginning, determine the determinant A by D minus B by C. 1 over determinant. That's the first step. The second step, change the main diagonal, possession of main diagonals. Change A by D and D by E. And the third step, change the sign of the second diagonals. Change the sign, negative B and negative C, and multiply to each other. That's all. Look at this example. What happens when the multiply a matrix by its inverse? If we multiply any number by multiplicative inverse, the result equals 1. This matrix consists from 2 by 2 multiplied by the inverse matrix. We get identity matrix. Therefore, A multiply A inverse equal identity matrix. How about identity matrix? We said before, identity matrix main diagonals equal 1 and the remaining of elements equal 0. For every non-zero real number A, there is real number 1 over A such that A times 1 over A equals 1. If we have this matrix in order 2 by 2 multiplied by inverse to itself, the result equal identity matrix. We studied the multiplication of matrix before. In terms of matrices, the product of the square matrix and its inverse is identity matrix. The inverse of matrix. If we have two matrices A and B, multiply A by B, put A from the beginning and put the matrix B and multiply the first row multiply the first column, and the first row multiply the second column. The second row multiply the first column, and the second row multiply the second column. We get the identity matrix. If we exchange A and B, the position of A and B means multiply B, A. The inverse of a matrix B, A give me the same identity matrix. Using matrix equation, example, find the inverse of A. Find the inverse of A. If we have matrix A in order 2 by 2, 2, 4, negative 4, negative 10, the inverse matrix equals from the beginning divide by determinant. Determinant 2 by negative 10 minus 4 by negative 4. And between brackets, change the position of main diagonal and change the sign of the second diagonal. The result equals 5 over 2, 1, negative 1, negative half. That's the inverse of matrix A. Let's go to another example. Find the inverse of a matrix. If A is inverse to B, then write and solve the equation. Let matrix A in order 2 by 2 equals 1, 2, 3, 5. And matrix B, A, B, C, D. We want to find the numerical value of A, B, C, and D. Since matrix A and matrix B inverse, therefore matrix A multiplied matrix B equals identity matrix. Multiply A and B, matrix A multiply matrix B equals identity matrix. 1 times A equals A, 2 times C, 2C equals 1, the first equation. And the second equation, multiply the first row multiply by the second column. 1 by B equal B, 2 by D equals 2D equals 0. That's the second equation. The third equation, multiply the second row multiply by the first column. 3A plus 5C equals 0. The last one, the last equation, 3 by B plus 5 by D equals 1. 4 equations, solve 4 equations simultaneous. We get the result A equals negative 5, C equals 3, B equals 2, and D equals negative 1. In this example, if you multiply this matrix in order 2 by 2, the elements negative 5, 2, 3, negative 1 multiplied by inverse to it, the result equals identity matrix. We can use the calculator, the easy way to find the inverse of matrix by using, when we press in the button on the calculator x power negative 1, we get the inverse by easy way. To find the inverse of matrix using the calculator, and enter the matrix into the calculator and use the x power negative 1 key, we get the inverse. Look at this example. The metric equation representing x plus y equals 8, 2x plus y equals 1. If you want to solve this equation by using matrix, the first one, the coefficient of x, the coefficient of y, that's the first row. The second row, the coefficient of the second equation 2, and the coefficient of the second equation 1, coefficient of y. Coefficient matrix E. The matrix xy variable of matrix X equals B constant matrix B. In this case, we multiply A by X E, matrix E, goes to the right hand side before B, matrix B. And when we multiply to each other, we get 9/17. This is the result of the equation. Therefore, x equals 9 and y equals 17. Solving system using inverse matrices. Write the matrix equation for the system and solve. If we have two equations like that, 2x plus 5y equals 0, that's the first equation. The second equation, 5x minus 3y equals 31. Step 1, put the coefficient of x, y, and put the coefficient of the second equation, x and y. 2, 5, 5, negative 3. That's matrix E. X variable matrix xy equals B constant matrix 0 and 31. Again, put A before B and multiply A and B, we get the result of x and y, the value of x and y. Step 2, determinant equal negative 31. Step 3, we get the determinant equal negative 31, 1 over negative 31 by the inverse matrix. Change the place of 2 and negative 3, the main diagonal. Replace the position of 2 and negative 3. And change the sign between the second diagonal. Multiply the 1 over determinant by each element inside the matrix, we get the inverse matrix. Like that. When we multiplied A negative 1 by B, we get the solutions equals 5 and negative 2. Therefore, x equals 5 and y equals negative 2. In this example, write the matrix equation 1, 1, 2, 3 multiplied by variable matrix x and y. The result equal constant matrix 4 and 9. From the beginning, find the determinant. The determinant 1 by 3 minus 1 by 2 equals 1. That's the determinant of matrix E. And put the determinant as a denominator 1 over 1, the matrix equal. Again, exchange the main diagonal. 1, 3. Exchange the position of main diagonal and change the sign of the second diagonal. When we multiply 1 by each term, we get 3, negative 1, negative 2, and 1. This A inverse. That's the A inverse multiplied by B, the constant. We get the result equal 3, 1. Therefore, x equals 3 and y equals 1. The identity matrix is the equivalent of the numbers 1 in the matrix form. If we have identity matrix by matrix A equals matrix A, and if we multiply A from the beginning, A multiply identity matrix, give me the same matrix A. From the beginning, I by A equals matrix A, or A by I equals the same matrix A. Definition of inverse. The inverse is defined as A by A في الانverse للماتريكس equals الانverse للماتريكس by A equals identity matrix. في الquestion mark put the inverse of matrix 2 by 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we put here 4, 1, negative 2 and negative 3 equals identity matrix. And in this case 4, negative 2, negative 3, 1, when we multiply each other we get identity matrix also. Revision about equation. When we have A by X equals B, A is a matrix, X is a variable, and B is a constant. We get A inverse both sides, in both sides, multiply A inverse by both sides, we get A inverse of A equals 1. Therefore, x equals A inverse B. Recap multiplication. Recap multiplication. If we multiply matrix in order 2 by 3. Multiply matrix in order 3 by 1. They studied before, the result equal matrix in order 2 by 1. Order in 2 by 1. Multiply the first row, multiply first column, the result equal 23. The second row, multiply the first column, we get negative 6. This equation, if we multiply the first row, multiply first column, we get the result equals 21. Multiply the second row by the first column, give me 8. The third row, multiply the first column, give me 31. Let's recap multiplication. Look at this arrow, multiply 2, the first row, multiply first column. And the first row, multiply the second column. Give me matrix in order 1 by 2, because the first matrix in order 1 by 2 and the second matrix in order 2 by 2. The result is a matrix in order 1 by 2 by this way. That is the recap of multiplication. And when we recap the simultaneous equation by using matrix, the first equation x plus y equals 240, the second equation x minus 3y equals 0. The first equation consists from left hand side equals matrix A 1 1 1 negative 3 multiplied by x1 x2 or x and y equals the constant 240 and 0. When we multiplied, before multiply, we get the inverse. The determinant, from the beginning, the determinant 1 by negative 3 minus 1 by 1 equal negative 4. The determinant in this case equal negative 4. 1 over determinant, between brackets we change the place value of 1 and negative 3, the mean values, the main diagonal, and change the sign of 1 and negative 1, and multiplied by the determinant we get the inverse. Multiply the inverse for both sides, we get the result equals 180 and 60. Look at this word problem.
You have $10,000 to invest. You want to invest the money in a stock mutual fund, a bond mutual fund, and a money market fund. The expected annual returns for these funds are given in the table. You want your investment to obtain an overall annual return of 8%. A financial planner recommends that you invest the same amount in stocks as in bonds and the money market combined. How much should you in each fund?
If I have $10,000 وعايزين نستثمرها يا إما stock mutual fund, bond mutual fund, money market fund. With this ratio, obtain an overall annual return of 8%. In this table, stock mutual fund expect return 10%. Bond mutual fund expect 7%. Money market fund expend 5%. Pay attention with this part. Stock as in pound at the money market campaign. يعني أنا عندي دلوقتي 3 equation. The first one represent the sum. The first one represent the sum. S plus B plus M means stock plus bond plus money equals $10,000. That's the first equation. The second equation represent the expected return 10%, 7 and 5. That's the second equation. The sum equals 8% means 0.08. The third equation represent by the stock equals el bond plus money. That's the third equations. Took the coefficient of each equation of these 3 equations. The first one, 1 plus 1 plus 1, represent stock mutually fund. The second row represent 0.1, 0.07, 0.05, represent bond mutually fund B. And the third one S 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative B, negative M equals M, money market fund. The result equals constant matrix 10,800. When we solve this equation by using inverse matrix, we get A inverse by X equals A inverse by B. A inverse by A equals 1. Therefore, X equals A inverse by B. When we multiply, we get 5,000, 2,500, 2,500. That's the result. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, my student. Thank you.